All right, a lot of basketball moves over the weekend. I thought the Lakers did really, really well. And I thought, let's bring in Chris Mannix to kind of summarize everything that happened, Sports Illustrated NBA senior writer. Busy weekend here, Mannix. The most surprising positive move of the weekend was what?
Positive, I'm not sure. I mean, I thought you said the Lakers did well. I agree with that. I think Marc Gasol is a very useful pickup for them at the end of all this, and the changes they made to the backcourt, Wesley Matthews, among others, I think are going to work out for that team. I really like what the Bucks did. I know they wanted Bogdanovic; that was their top choice in that sign and trade. But I thought they rebounded pretty well from that. By getting a guy like Bryn Forbes and a handful of others to Bobby Portis to fortify that bench, bringing back Pat Connaughton, who I think is going to play a big role for that team. And look, they still have Drew Holiday, who addressed a lot of issues for them there. So look, it wasn't anything seismic. I think that tipped the balance of power in a significant way. But the top teams I thought did well in sort of refortifying their positions.
Well, let me go back to the Lakers because I don't know if they're done yet. I saw where Mark Stein said that the Lakers and Clippers trying to sign Markieff Morris. This is – I don't know if it's – these players are more apt to want to play with LeBron, the point guard LeBron, and be a part of a championship team. I think Montrezl Harrell, walking from one side of the Staples Center to the other side, I mean, that's pretty seismic move, it feels like there, that you want to try to cash in and win a championship, it feels like. Do you get that feeling that these players all in on getting a chance to play with LeBron and a chance to win a title?
Well, I mean, yes and no. With Markieff Morris, it's just a weird situation. Like, he and his brother are as inseparable as you possibly can be when you play for different teams, and he would really like to play alongside his brother if the Clippers can make that work. So that's one aspect of it. The market for Harrell wasn't great, and that surprised me a little bit because he's coming off the year he's coming off, but it wasn't exceptionally robust market for Harrell, which is why I think it's a 2-year deal, but it's really a 1-year deal with the option, so he could punt to free agency in 2021 and see, there's going to be more teams with free agent cash available as teams load up for that summer. So maybe you can cash in that year. And look, with Harrell, he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not exactly sure about the fit with Anthony Davis because we know Davis likes to play alongside, traditional big men, right? Like, he doesn't want to be a 5, except in spurts at the end of games and in the playoffs. He wants to save his body against that wear and tear. I mean, Harrell can play 5, but he's not your traditional type of 5. That's why I think the Gasol signing was badly needed in the aftermath of losing Dwight Howard. I mean, Gasol, not what he used to be, but I think he'll be an incredible weapon, top of the key, passing the ball, shooting threes, and just basketball IQ. I think he's going to be a real threat for that team. So Harrell's a good player, but Harrell plus Gasol made me think the Lakers had a good day.
Did the Hornets have a good weekend?
I don't know what the Hornets are doing or what their thought process is. Like, Gordon Hayward won the offseason, and Mark Bartelstein, his agent. They won the offseason. I couldn't have imagined, after opting out of a 4-year or a $34.5 million contract for next season in Boston, that there would be $120 million on the table for him. There were teams interested. I mean, Tom Thibodeau really pushed Gordon Hayward to New York. Indiana tried to construct a sign and trade. But the idea that the Hornets would be there with $120 is mind-blowing. This is the same Hornets team that kind of shrugged its shoulders at Kemba Walker, at least didn't go all out to try to re-sign Kemba Walker just a year ago. This is a Hornets team that tied itself to Nick Batum a few years back in what was an awful contract that they are now stretching so they can sign Gordon Hayward. So Gordon Hayward, Dan, is going to make $30 million a year himself. But because of the Nick Batum stretch, if that's how it plays out, which I think it will, Gordon's going to be costing them like $39 million a year. That is truly bonkers for a team that isn't going anywhere. What are they going to do? Go from with Gordon Hayward, go from 12th in the Eastern Conference to 10th? I don't understand Michael Jordan, Mitch Kupchak, the thinking there. They got LaMelo Ball. He brings some star power. You want to build around him. Gordon's 30. Like, are you just bringing him in to give LaMelo someone to pass to for a couple of years as you miss the playoffs? I thought Nick Batum's contract as an expiring would have been much more valuable in some kind of trade scenario where teams are trying to cut costs for next summer if Giannis is available than just waiving him and making Gordon effectively a $40 million per year player.
Does everybody have to get a max? You know, like Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum, like it's 195 and that's it? Like there's no other option where you go, hey, maybe you'd like to give you 5 for 175. Why is it? It feels like this is like NFL quarterback contracts where next guy up, or everybody's getting the max amount at quarterbacking position, and then these NFL max deals.
Yeah, I mean, not on rookie contracts. Like if a player is at an all-star level, they become a max guy. And part of that is the comps that are out there, right? Like the second free agency opened, Sacramento gave De'Aaron Fox the max. So if you're Donovan Mitchell, you're not considering not the max anyway, and Utah wasn't considering it either. But the fact that De'Aaron Fox is a max guy, you are a max guy. If you're Jason Tatum, if those guys are max guys, you're a max guy. They just like you can't, because these have been handed out, and I agree, they get handed out almost reflexively at this point. Because they're handed out so frequently, there's almost no choice for teams to do. I mean, players, you know, if I was a team, maybe I'd play a little bit of hardball because no player in the history of these contracts has ever turned one down. Because if they take, let's say, the qualifying offer, that's not money they can ever get back, right? Like if you're a player that signs a shorter-term deal, you can always recoup money on the back end. But if you sign a qualifying offer, that means for like a Jason Tatum, I'm just making this number up, but it's like $10 million in that first year. You can't make up that money, so you want the $20 million in that first year of the extension. So they're always going to take it, or at least be inclined to take it. Maybe teams should play some hardball, but I have no belief, Dan, that's ever going to happen.
Any updates on James Harden?
No, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I expect James Harden to be in training camp with the Rockets, which isn't saying much since that opens like tomorrow or right around the corner. My sense from talking to people in Houston and talking to people that have inquired is that this is going to be a protracted process. And I think I said this to you last time I was on, and it remains true. The Westbrook domino kind of has to fall first. You know, they have to find a home for Westbrook. I don't know where that is. The Washington deal kind of raised an eyebrow because I'm not sure what you do with John Wall either in that situation. Seems like, exchanging one distressed asset for another. But I don't expect a Harden deal to happen until Westbrook, there's an outcome there. And look, you do want to get teams into a bidding war. So maybe that takes until midseason to get these teams to realize, let's say Giannis signs the extension next week. Like you don't want to, make a deal for Harden when other teams who are preparing for Giannis might be available. A team like Miami or somebody else that might throw a real offer at you. So I don't expect anything to happen anytime soon with James Harden.
Wait, I thought Harden wanted to play with Westbrook. He's okay now not playing with Westbrook, right?
Well, he's going to go down the list of ex-teammates, right? It's Westbrook, and now it's Durant, and
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul will reunite with the Clippers. I don't think there's any friction with Russ and James. I just think, look, they're like many people, if not most, thought they were a tough match. You put two guys together that are used to being alphas that have two of the highest usage rates in NBA history, and it's not easy to come together. Now, to Russ's credit, I think Russ changed, during the year. I think he evolved as a player to make things more accommodating to playing with James, but it just didn't feel like a long-term fit when they acquired him, and it still doesn't feel like a long-term fit now.
Good to talk to you as always, Chris. Thank you, buddy.
Ricky Rubio on the move again, Dan.
Yeah.
Back to Minnesota. I already have my Minnesota Rubio jersey, so I don't need a new one now. I'm good.
Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated NBA senior writer.